Happy New Year, everyone! My name is Alex and I'm here today to give you my January TBR. We're gonna do things a little differently this year because I've come to discover that as much as I love the idea of themes, I don't actually stick to them, nor do I like being constricted by the themes. So, this year, as one of my goals, about 80% of the books I read, I want them to be books that I own, that I haven't read, because I've got so many of them. I'm trying to make my TBR pile smaller because I want to read the books that I own. I want to. That's how it's gonna roll. So instead of writing all the names out into a little jar, I have made an electronic TBR jar. I have created a document list of all of the I haven't read. Then I've assigned each book a number. So every month I'll go on a random number generator and I will click the random number generator 5 times and come up with 5 books from my TBR jar to potentially read each month. On top of my TBR jar books, I will also pick 5 books that I want to read currently. What that's gonna look like is probably some books from my bookshelf that a Mod Podge. So without further ado, the first 5 books that I'm going to show you are the books that I have chosen to read. Surprise, surprise. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I'm sorry, Throne of Glass, but January is your month this year. I will be reading you. My second book on my list is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This is becoming a movie very shortly. I want to see the movie, but more importantly, I want to read the book before I see the movie. It is time to settle down and read this guy. The third book on my list is Spelled by Betsy Shao. I borrowed this book from a friend and she told me it was so good and that she flew through it and that I would love it. So here it is in my January TBR. It was going to be the first book I read in 2016. However, my book club book needs to be finished by Friday, so that takes priority. My next book on my January TBR is Soundless by Rochelle Mead. I was on the fence about this book, and then I received it in an Owl Crate, and now I'm all sorts of interested in it. So I will be reading it this month, hopefully. The next book on my list this month is Lumine by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And it's so interesting and pretty already, and I don't even know what it's about. I think this book's gonna stay on my TBR until I read it. Now, the next 5 books on my list are the books I pulled from my TBR jar. The first book from my TBR jar is If You Come Softly by Jacqueline Woodson, and at the time I knew what it was about when I picked it up. I no longer know what it's about. An interracial couple. I think one's Jewish and one's black. It seems like that's an issue in the time that this book is set. So it'll be an interesting read, to say the least. The next book that I pulled from my TBR jar is actually a book that's coming out in 2016. I won this ARC in December and I'm thoroughly excited to read it. It is The Killing Jar by Jennifer Bosworth. And I'm pretty sure this is gonna happen this month because it's coming out this month. I should read it before it comes out, right? The next book that I pulled from my TBR jar is Eve by Anna Carey. So I mostly know nothing about this book, which means I'll just dive right in and hope for the best. The next book that I picked from my TBR jar is Rook by Sharon Cameron, and I wanted to read this last year but didn't get to it. This year I will read it. And the last book I picked from my TBR jar is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I haven't read this book. Apparently there's a fair amount of Jane Austen books that I haven't read. That is all I have for you today. Let me know what you plan on reading in January and I will see you when I see you. Bye!